Liverpool rocked by shock twists on and off the pitch. Don't miss a second. Subscribe now for instant Reds updates, exclusives, and breaking alerts.
News headline: Liverpool could be facing Arne Slot replacement time bomb as pressure looms on boss. Arne Slot is not the only Premier League boss feeling the wrath of his club's supporters at the moment, with Thomas Frank also under fire at the moment. For as long as fan discontent with Arne Slot remains at the level it is currently at, suggestions that Xabi Alonso could return to Anfield will not go away. Slot presided over a fourth successive Premier League draw on Saturday as Burnley emerged from Merseyside with a point, and although the team's performance was among the brighter ones it has produced in recent weeks, supporters made their dissatisfaction clear following the final whistle. Boos rang out around Anfield, and many Liverpool fans have come to the conclusion that Slot is no longer the man to take the team forward. However, Liverpool is understood to have no intention of firing Slot despite the scrutiny that is mounting on the Dutch boss. Liverpool remains in contention in the FA Cup and the Champions League, while, for all the team's struggles, it still occupies a place in the Premier League's top four. Fan discontent with Slot is growing, but The Athletic reports that he retains the backing of his paymasters, although the same report suggests that could change if Liverpool fails to secure qualification for next season's Champions League. The sacking of Alonso by Real Madrid has added an extra dimension to Liverpool's managerial situation, with the former Reds midfielder likely to be favored by the majority supporters should the club opt to make a change in the dugout. However, the longer that Liverpool keeps faith in Slot, the less likely that Alonso would be available were the club to eventually fire Slot and pursue a replacement. Alonso's stock remains high despite his firing by Real Madrid, and he has already been linked with a number of top jobs, despite only leaving the Spanish giant last week. Another top job in England could become available this week, with rumors rife that Thomas Frank will be sacked by Tottenham if the North London club loses its Champions League game against Borussia Dortmund this week. Now, whether Spurs has sufficient pull to be able to tempt a manager like Alonso to the club is debatable, particularly given the club's current plight. But even if Alonso were not interested in the Tottenham job, other jobs will continually come up that will appeal to the former Spain midfielder. So, if Liverpool does eventually decide that a managerial change is necessary, the decision must be taken immediately for the club to have the best possible chance of Alonso still being on the market.
News headline: John Heitinga in frame for Tottenham job as Xabi Alonso on long-term shortlist. Tottenham is considering Thomas Frank's future after the team's loss to West Ham, with the club already having a five-man shortlist including Xabi Alonso and Mauricio Pochettino. Thomas Frank is set to remain at the helm for Tottenham's showdown with Borussia Dortmund, but rumors suggest a five-man shortlist is in place should Spurs decide to give him the boot. Frank, 52, endured a dismal weekend as his side fell to a 1-2 defeat at home to relegation-threatened West Ham. With jeers and boos echoing around the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, the future looks bleak for the former Brentford manager. Reports also suggest that key figures at Tottenham have been discussing his future at the club, despite expectations that he will be in the dugout when Spurs host Dortmund in the Champions League. If Frank is shown the door, it's believed that Spurs have 5 potential successors lined up. According to The Times, John Heitinga, the recently fired former Ajax boss, who now forms part of Frank's coaching team, could take the reins if Frank is dismissed. Heitinga is best known among Liverpool fans for being one of Arne Slot's assistants last season, helping the Reds win the Premier League title. He also spent several years of his career playing for Everton. Given Heitinga's struggles at Ajax, this would likely be a temporary arrangement. Among the more permanent options is Andoni Iraola, although prizing him away from Bournemouth, where he is highly regarded, could prove difficult mid-season. Rumors are rife that Mauricio Pochettino is on the shortlist, a move that would mark an incredibly emotional return for the Argentine. However, any potential homecoming would have to wait until after the World Cup at the earliest, given his current commitment to leading the United States at a home tournament. Recently dismissed former Real Madrid manager Xabi Alonso is also among the contenders and was reportedly discussed during a recent board meeting. Currently without a club, he could step into the London role immediately if he so chooses. However, reports suggest he may hold off until the summer in anticipation of more appealing opportunities. Further rumors indicate that Crystal Palace manager Oliver Glasner could be high on Spurs' list of potential hires. The Austrian seemed set to depart Selhurst Park recently, following his criticism of the club for abandoning him and his squad with the decisions to sell Eberechi Eze last summer and Marc Guehi in January. Yet, it appears that Palace and Glasner have since made amends, and the FA Cup winner is now expected to remain in post until his contract runs out at the end of this season. News headline: Xabi Alonso's stance emerges as Liverpool could be forced to wait regardless of Arne Slot's future. Xabi Alonso is reportedly eyeing up a job in the Premier League, although any club wanting to secure his services could be forced to wait amid links with a return to Liverpool. Alonso, of course, finds himself out of work after being fired by Real Madrid. The 44-year-old was dismissed last week following defeat in the Spanish Super Cup final, although his exit had been on the cards for some time amid growing tensions with his players. Despite lasting less than 8 months at the Bernabeu, Alonso has been linked with a swift return to management, with a number of English clubs being linked, including Liverpool. Arne Slot is coming under increasing pressure once again this season, despite leading his side on an unbeaten run of 12 games in all competitions. 6 of those have been draws, though, including their last 4 outings in the league, while performances have left supporters far from satisfied. A change in leadership has therefore been touted in some corners, and Alonso's availability has only increased the heat on Slot currently. Liverpool's current head coach, though, is thought to still retain the backing of those inside the club, which might be just as well considering Alonso's reported stance on a return to management. According to The Times, the former midfielder is keen on a move to Premier League, but wants to take a break before his next job and will consider offers from June onwards. Therefore, should Liverpool's stance on Slot change before the end of the season, it may have to wait in order to land Alonso, if the former Red is indeed the manager the club would turn to in that situation. It's not just Liverpool that could be forced to wait. Alonso's stance comes in a report on the ongoing situation at Tottenham, where Thomas Frank is facing considerable pressure over his future. The 52-year-old is set to remain in charge for Spurs' Champions League clash with Borussia Dortmund on Tuesday, but defeat to West Ham at the weekend has been met with a major backlash from the club's fans, and Frank's position is reportedly being considered. Alonso has been discussed as a potential option for the North London club, although the timing may not suit him should Frank be relieved of his duties soon. Manchester United has also been touted as a possible destination for Alonso, with the Old Trafford club set to make a permanent appointment in the summer after handing the reins over to Michael Carragher for the rest of the season. Manchester City, meanwhile, has previously held conversations about Alonso as a potential successor to Pep Guardiola, with the former Barcelona boss linked with a possible exit in the summer.
News headline: Jamie Carragher makes tongue-in-cheek Mohamed Salah prediction ahead of Liverpool return. Liverpool legend Jamie Carragher feels Arne Slot has gone too defensive recently and has made a tongue-in-cheek prediction about Mohamed Salah's expected return to the club. Jamie Carragher made a tongue-in-cheek prediction for Mohamed Salah's return to Liverpool this week amid the pair's well-documented feud. Salah is due back with the Reds ahead of Wednesday's Champions League game against Marseille following his involvement at the Africa Cup of Nations, in which he missed out on a first continental title with Egypt after defeat to Sadio Mane's Senegal in the semi-finals. All eyes will be on the 33-year-old, with his future at Anfield still up in the air after his extraordinary outburst last month, which saw him accuse the club of throwing him under the bus after being named on the bench for 3 consecutive games. He has been back to earn a place back in Arne Slot's starting lineup, though, with Liverpool still struggling to pick up wins despite currently being on a 12-game unbeaten run in all competitions. The Reds were booed by some supporters following Saturday's 1-1 draw at home to Burnley, their 4th straight stalemate in the Premier League, with Slot finding himself defending his side against accusations of boring performances. Carragher doesn't feel the weekend's draw falls into that category, although he does believe Slot has gone too far in making his side more defensive after a poor start to the season. The concerning thing over this run is Liverpool are playing with the handbrake on, Carragher told Sky Sports News. Now, I don't think that was the case at the weekend. I think Liverpool played really well, and sometimes you have to accept you don't get the result that you really deserve, which Liverpool did. I don't think this game in isolation reflects what we've seen over the last couple of months, but the dilemma for every manager, in every team, in every league, no matter where you're playing, is balance between attack and defense. Now, the balance wasn't right at the start of the season. It felt too much in the attacking sense, and Liverpool were leaving themselves open at the back. End-to-end games, lots of goals. So Arne Slot has stopped that. He stopped the defeats, right? But the balance has almost gone too far one way now, where that energy and pace in the team isn't there, so it's a lot slower. The football is a bit pragmatic, if you like. But he's done that to stop the end-to-end games, to try and make the team stronger defensively. Now he's almost got to move this needle a little bit more attacking. And listen, if it was easy, every manager could do it. But that's the conundrum for everybody, getting the balance between attack and defense, and he hasn't been able to get that right all season. It was too far one way at the start of the season. Now it's maybe too far the other way. Just before he ended his analysis, though, Carragher joked about Mohamed Salah's return, no doubt with his ongoing feud with the forward fresh in his memory. Maybe Mo Salah will change it when he's back, he said, drawing laughter from both him and the host.
News headline: Micah Richards gives Arne Slot instruction over best Liverpool 11 ahead of Mohamed Salah return. News in details. Mohamed Salah will be returning to Liverpool with his future still up in the air, although Arne Slot has been told what he immediately needs to do with the Egyptian. Micah Richards has told Arne Slot he has to throw Mohamed Salah back into his starting lineup upon his return to Liverpool. Salah will be back with the Reds this week following the conclusion of the Africa Cup of Nations, with the Wingers tournament having ended in heartbreak after defeat in the semi-finals and third-place playoff, before Sadio Mane's Senegal was crowned the champion in a controversial final. There are plenty of questions surrounding Salah's return to Merseyside, not least whether he still has a future at the club beyond the January transfer window following his extraordinary outburst last month. The 33-year-old accused Liverpool of throwing him under the bus after he was named on the bench for 3 consecutive games, while he also claimed his relationship with Slot had broken down. Having been completely dropped for the subsequent trip to Inter Milan, Salah earned his place back in the squad against Brighton before heading off to AFCON, although he did suggest the game against the Seagulls could have been his final appearance for the Reds. We might well see whether that is the case this week, with Salah due to report back to Liverpool ahead of Wednesday's Champions League clash in Marseille. No word has yet been given as to whether the winger will return to the squad for that game, but former Manchester City defender Richards is adamant that he should be back in the starting 11. Speaking on the rest is football following Liverpool's weekend draw with Burnley, Richards said, "Salah's got to start. I know he's played Jeremy Frimpong wide right, but Salah's got to start. He'll come back hungry, and he did really well at AFCON as well. Maybe Wirtz off the left, but coming in, Ekitike's going to play, and they have to play Salah. I think they've actually missed him at times. Wirtz high left, probably with form, they'll play him more than Gakpo. Zoboslavi, Gravenberch, and Alexis McAllister in midfield. That's probably what they'll go. I think so, anyway." Whether Salah does feature against Marseille will likely come down to his conversations with Slot, with the Liverpool boss having confirmed he has been in talks with the winger ahead of his return. "I'm happy that he comes back, because Mo has been so important for this club. Even if I had 15 attackers, I still would have been happy if he came back, but that's not our current situation. I'm happy to have him back after an important game he has to play for Egypt."
News headline: Marc Guehi rubs salt in Liverpool wounds immediately after $30 million Man City deal announced. England centre-back Marc Guehi has joined Manchester City from Crystal Palace just months after seeing a transfer to Liverpool collapse. Marc Guehi couldn't resist a sly dig at Liverpool after completing his $30 million move to Manchester City. The defender becomes Pep Guardiola's second January arrival after Antoine Semenyo joined for $64 million. Guehi moves to the Etihad Stadium after the injuries to defenders Josko Guardiola and Ruben Dias. The former Chelsea star has been linked with a number of clubs and was close to joining Liverpool late in the summer window. The move to Anfield collapsed at the last minute to leave Arne Slot short in defense. Guehi's contract at Selhurst Park was due to expire at the end of the season, and he has now signed a deal with City until 2031. And after putting pen to paper on his deal, he declared he had joined the best club in England. He said, "I am really happy and incredibly proud to be a Manchester City player. This move feels like the culmination of all the hard work I have put into my career. I am now at the best club in England and part of an unbelievable squad of players. It feels good to be able to say that. I want to grow as a player and a person, and I know at this club that's going to happen. I love football. It has given me so much for so long, and to be able to continue my development at Manchester City is a really special moment for me and my family. I absolutely cannot wait to get started now. I want to meet my teammates, train hard, understand what the manager expects of me, and then show the City fans what I can do." Palace's chairman Steve Parish said, "There is never an easy time to bid farewell to a player of Marc's caliber and character, but we respect his desire to play football at the highest level. Marc's qualities on the pitch speak for themselves. His talent as a footballer continues to shine for both club and country, and he has truly matured during his time in South London into a top-class defender, a leader on the field, and a vital player for his country." But it is equally important to recognize Marc Guehi, the man, a South London local with an exemplary mentality on and off the pitch, and whose leadership saw him go on to captain the club at an early age, before leading us to one of our finest days at Wembley Stadium. Marc's humble character and maturity throughout his time with us is a shining beacon in today's game. He will stay in all our hearts, and, although it is sad to bid him farewell, he deserves to depart with our best wishes for the future. Good luck, Marc, and thank you. While City Director of Football Hugo Viana believes his club have signed one of the outstanding defenders in the country. He said, "It's clear Marc has been one of the best defenders in English football for quite some time now, so we are absolutely delighted to bring him to Manchester City. I feel we have signed a huge talent who will help us improve. He is only 25, but he has shown already he is a leader, a brilliant professional, and someone desperate to improve. He is strong, has exceptional defensive qualities, is an intelligent reader of the game, and brings passion and energy every time he steps onto the pitch. Marc is entering the prime years of his career. I am sure every City fan is excited to see how good he can be in a sky blue shirt."